I'm about to show you a step-by-step process to making the most versatile cheese with only 3 ingredients. And we're not going to be using any kind of special equipment or any special ingredients like rennet and cheese culture. This is going to be a super basic recipe. And we're only using milk, vinegar, and salt. Now I am going to use my cheese press today because we like to press it, but you do not need to press it to use it. There are lots of ways to use it without pressing it. And I'm going to share with you the way that we like to use it and other ways that you can use it. So let's dive right in to the recipe. So to start, I'm going to dump in 2 gallons of milk. Now it's important that you only make enough for a week because that's about how long this cheese will last in your refrigerator. So for us, 2 gallons seems to be a good happy medium. Seems to make about 2 pounds of cheese, give or take. And today I'm using whole raw milk. So this is a good raw milk recipe, but you can also use whole pasteurized to make sure it's not ultra pasteurized or homogenized. Now you could opt for a cheaper milk option like part skim, 2% or skim, but you'll end up probably getting less cheese off of the milk since the fat is the part that's going to curdle. So I'm going to heat this up to almost boiling, or if you have a thermometer and you want to use it, it's going to be 190 degrees Fahrenheit. This will pasteurize your milk since most of the time to pasteurize it, you only need to heat it to 160. This is why I normally don't make cheeses that use either vinegar or lemon juice as a culture, because normally you have to heat them up much higher and you actually wind up pasteurizing the milk. Now for this recipe, I do make an exception. I prefer it this way, and I'm not that concerned about 1 or 2 kinds of our cheeses being pasteurized. So like I said, I used to make mozzarella also with vinegar, and again, you did have to heat it up high, pasteurize the milk. Unlike using rennet, I only have to heat up my mozzarella to 90 degrees, and that won't pasteurize it. So I don't actually heat it up that high. Another thing to mention is that it's really important to keep stirring so that your milk doesn't burn. All right, y'all, our milk is 190 degrees. So I already turned off the heat, and here I have a cup of vinegar since we're doing 2 gallons of milk. And while I stir, I'm going to add this in, and you're going to notice it starts to curdle almost immediately. Just going to gently stir, and you'll start to see that separation. And the liquid's going to become more yellow as the curds separate. And I'm going to push this off of the hot burner and let it sit for 15 minutes. Now, if you want to add herbs to this, add it after 10 minutes, give it a stir, and let it sit for 5 more minutes. So you'll still get your 15 minutes, but that's the perfect time to add herbs to your farmer's cheese. Now that this has been sitting for 15 minutes, I have a bowl with a colander and butter muslin. Now I am going to be linking all the products I used today down below, but you do not need to purchase anything. Instead of butter muslin, which is a cheese making specific product, you could use a tea towel or really any kind of thin cloth. You can see if this is see-through, will work. So just get creative with that. But now we're going to open this up. It's still very hot. And I don't have a bowl big enough to dump all of this whey into. So what I like to do is just scoop the curds out with a slotted spoon and transfer them. Now this does take me a couple of minutes because I got to make sure that I get all the curds out. But if you don't have a bowl big enough, this works really well. And you can see we have lots of curds there. Came out beautifully. So at this point, there's almost really nothing that could go wrong with your cheese making. You've pretty much done all of the hard steps by this point. You could not do anything to possibly ruin your cheese at this point. So you can take a deep breath. All right, now that I'm pretty sure I got all the curds out, I could strain this into another pot later just to make sure. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of salt. So it's a tablespoon for every gallon of milk that you use. And trust me, this is not overboard at all. Cheese, especially homemade cheese, is very bland. And salt is definitely going to help. So we like Redmond's. I'll leave a link for that too. I don't know if you can use iodized salt in cheese. I will look that up and put it on screen if you can. So we're just going to gently mix this in. You're going to hear whey draining into the bottom of that bowl, which is what we want. I'm just going to give this all a really good mix. You can see this is almost like a hard cottage cheese at this point. This is actually what cottage cheese would look like if you had used vinegar or lemon juice to make it. Now, because we use rennet to make our cottage cheese, ours does not look like this. Personally, I prefer a softer curd when it comes to cottage cheese, and this is quite a hard curd. All right, now that that is all mixed in, we're going to take the 4 corners of your cheesecloth, and we're going to tie it up. How long you want to hang your cheese for is completely up to you. It is going to make a difference in how dry it is. So the longer you hang it, the more dry it's going to be. So it's completely up to you, however dry you want it. Now, if you happen to hang it for too long and it's too dry, you can just literally mix some whey back in, and that'll work. So I'm gonna, you see I left a nice big one here, a nice big hole, so I can hang it. I like to just hang it on a cabinet handle, and then I'll put this underneath. So I will probably only leave mine hang for about an hour because I'm going to stick it in a cheese press. Now, if I wasn't going to stick it in the cheese press, I'd let this hang for hours. We like ours really, really dry, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. But you do not need to make it this way. Lots of people prefer different ways. All right, y'all, this has been hanging for quite a little bit now, and it can be used as is, just like this. I think I mentioned that you could use it as a replacement for cottage cheese, but like I said, the curds are much harder here than a traditional cottage cheese, so just keep that in mind if you plan to substitute it. I would only plan to substitute for cottage cheese if you were like cooking with it maybe or something. Otherwise, it can be used eaten with crackers or bread. You can put it in salads. You can use it to make stuffed pasta. You can use it for desserts. So there are lots of creative ways to use this. Make sure you go ahead look up some ways. There's so many, I have no way I'm gonna be able to list them all. Now, as you can see, I have a cheese press here, but like I said, not necessary. You can use it just like this. You can put it away just like that. But I like to use a cheese press because we want to make ours grateable, if that makes sense. We can grate the cheese. We like to make it more of like a hard style where you can actually like slice it and things. So this press, if you are interested in getting one, I will also leave link down below. I have found it to be super beginner friendly, really easy to learn. It didn't take me very long. So these are just the locks. We're gonna take the top off, the springs, the bottom. Then we have, I have it on a cookie sheet because I did see that someone else did this, and it's a great idea because I did put a bowl under this the first time I used it, but the whey still got on the boards and everything, so I just decided to put it on a cookie sheet. We have a couple of followers here, and then this is the mold. So what we're going to do is I am going to dump my cheese curds into the colander, just like that. Okay, then I'm going to use this butter muslin here to line my mold. So this is, again, this is only if you want to press it. You can stop right now and use it just like that. And then we're going to fill the mold with the cheese curds. Probably going to make a mess here. Now this is a 2-pound mold, so I may actually need to push this down a little to get everything in here. Got everything in there, no problems. Now that we got it all in here, I'm going to put a little bit of this butter muslin on top of the cheese to line it. Just like that. Then we're going to put a follower in, this first one here. Push it down really good. Then we're going to put this other follower in. You can already see it starting to come out the sides, the extra whey. All right, now we're going to put the bottom on here, this part, the springs, top, and the locks. Now, the weight that you actually want to press it at and for how long is totally up to you because it depends on how dry you want it. Do you want it really dry like hard cheese, or do you just want to press it lightly for a little, make it a little bit drier than what it is now? So I'm going to start at a very light for like an hour, and then I'm going to do a little more, and I'll probably up the time. So you can just add a little bit of more pressure on and time as you go. So really, it's really just easy as if you put the locks on this press, you can just push it down and this shows you the weight, and it'll hold that weight. Now you may need to adjust it as it sits because this is going to push down. And look, you guys already see all that whey coming out now that I pushed the press down and I've applied the weight. So I'm starting at 10 pounds of pressure. I'll probably do this for an hour, and then I'll flip my cheese, and I'll probably go 20 or 30 pounds of pressure for a couple of hours, and we'll see what it looks like after that. All right, this is after the first pressing. So, like I said, I did 10 pounds. It's been a little over an hour now. I actually lost track of time. So let's see what this looks like. You can see there's whey all over here, and there's whey in the back here pedaling up. So this definitely is going to make the cheese drier than what it was. So the way that I like to get them out of the molds is I take all of my muslin here, and I just stick it inside. And then when I lift my mold, it all just, there we go. See, it just pops right out. So let's see what this looks like. Oh, look at that. Now that's still a little bit crummier than what I'm going for right now. I think we might go ahead and leave it just like this. Looks pretty good. So the way that we like to use farmer's cheese is we will just slice it and eat it as a snack or with lunch. And then we also use it to top salads. So those are our two main uses for farmer's cheese. We may use it other times for other things, but those are our two main uses. So I'm going to wrap this up in plastic wrap and stick it in the fridge. And like I said before, use it within a week. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Look at the inside of that cheese right there. Just gorgeous. Let's give it a taste. So it's definitely a little bit crummier than the one that I made last time, but I think I actually like it better this way. So let's see. Doesn't taste like mozzarella. It honestly tastes like a cottage cheese, but harder. It's really good. It's not bland at all. A little salty, just how I like it. I would definitely eat this with some crackers or toast or in a salad. Really good. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to continue seeing cheese making content.